5 things you need to know about a credit score. Hello, guys. Welcome to Money Sense with Miss T. My name is Tendotlo, and I am your financial coach. And on today's episode, I'm going to let you in on some of the things that I want you to start considering when it comes to building a good and an excellent credit score. So let's begin. So what is a credit score? A credit score is basically a 3-digit number that's calculated by what we know as credit bureaus or referencing agencies, and it basically tells the lender, so the person or the institution where you want to borrow money, right? Not how wealthy you are, not how well you're managing your money, but how well you have managed your debt, your obligations in the past, or your credit agreements in the past, right? And the next follow-up question that you may be asking yourself is, why should I care about this number and who uses this information anyway, right? And I think for most of us, guys, we cannot afford to buy a car cash or to buy a house cash, right? For most of us, we need financing. We need to apply for loans. We need to apply for some form of credit in order for us to be able to afford, to buy these big ticket items, right? And in order for us to even have, the opportunity to have a seat at the table with a lender, and in this case, I'm talking about a bank, right? You need to have a credit score. They need to be sure that at some point you have borrowed money and you were able to honor your obligations. You were able to make payments when you needed to make those payments, right? The other organizations that may likely, want to know what your credit score is for good reason is landlords. I know I do when I do my assessments with tenants who are wanting to occupy my property. I always will want to know what the credit score or the credit situation is of the tenant, as well as employers, especially when you are working in, the financial services space. Employers may want to know what your credit standing is. So where do these credit bureaus get this information from, and how do they actually calculate this number, right? Guys, the truth is no one really knows how this number is calculated. Again, they use a spectrum of numbers. There are some credit bureaus whose credit scores are out of 1,000, some who are out of 999, and I'll show you in pictures as I'm saying this. But there are factors that they use, right, and weightings that they use to determine this number or to calculate this number. And I'm just going to flag a few of those that I want you to have at the back of your mind as you start your journey of building your credit score. And that's basically the amount that you owe in total, as well as your payment history. Very important. The type of debt. So there are 2 types of debt: secured debt and unsecured debt. And secured debt is basically debt that you take out and the bank basically has some form of security. So in the case, in instances where you are not able to honor the obligation, where you're not able to pay as is required from the credit agreement, they are able to basically take the asset away. So this is an example of, when you buy a car or when you buy a house on financing or on a loan, right? If you default, they are going to have this asset, which is security, that they will be able to basically sell and recoup the amount. And then on the other hand, we have what we call unsecured debt. And as the word said, there is no security. There is nothing that the bank can hold on to in the event that you default, right? Which is why this type of debt is usually more expensive than secured debt. So this is the likes of your credit cards, your overdraft facilities, some types of personal loans and stuff like that. So it's important to understand that, right? So again, this is us answering the question, what factors they use to determine this amount. The other area is the age of your credit, right? Very, very important how old your credit is. So the longer that you are in a credit agreements, right, the better it is for, the building of this credit score. All right, where do I begin? What you need to do is you need to go onto the websites. You just need to choose one credit bureau. Just choose one, go onto their website and download a free. We all have access to a free credit report, right? And what is a credit report? A credit report is basically a summary. It basically summarizes your credit behavior over the past. So I want you to think about it actually as like your financial CV, right? It tells a story about, the credit that you've had in the past to date, and how you have managed to pay this payment, to service these debts, right? And I'm going to show you a picture that basically summarizes the information that will be contained in your credit report. So it will have like the types of debt that you have, right? So credit card, low personal loans, as well as maybe an overdraft facility, and then it will have an amount. Then it will have your payment history. So instances where you have paid your monthly installments on time, it will indicate. Instances where you have delayed payment, it will indicate. Instances where you have missed payments, it will indicate, right? And then right at the end, it will also then tell you basically information about whether or not you have defaults or judgments, right? So very important again to take note of that. And lastly, I think with most of them, right, they will also give you a tailored view of how or what you can do to increase your credit score. And really, guys, here we are not trying, to be like excellent. No, you just want to be good, and if you can, you want to be excellent. But really, all you're trying to do is to get to a place where you have a good credit score, so that conversations with credit analysts when the time comes for you to get financing are easier. Because again, the other thing that you need to be aware of is that credit analysts are not only going to take into account the credit score when they consider giving you a loan, right, for that house, or a loan for that car, or a personal loan, right? They're also going to take into account other factors like the amount of time that it takes for your salary, for instance, to run out, or your financial behavior, like how you basically use your money, let's say on weekends. So your tendencies, right, at which times of the day or which times of the night do you go about using your money. So those are just some of the things that credit analysts will use to assess your credit worthiness, and to assess your affordability of this financing that you are applying for. All right, I diverted, but let me come back to the credit report. The credit report, again, what I want you to do is to also just audit it and make sure that the information that is on the credit report is accurate, right? Guys, there's a lot of identity theft that's going on, and it's important for you to make sure that the creditors that are listed are the creditors that you know of. If there are creditors that are listed there and they should not be there, you need to work on correcting that, right? The other thing is also check your personal information, your ID, your name, your surname, all of that stuff. Make sure that it is accurate and it is correct, right? So yeah, that's just about it on the credit report. So what do I do if I actually download this credit report and I find that I don't have any activity? So I don't have any form of debt. I don't have a credit score as a result, right? The simple answer to this question is you need to go out and get some form of financing, some form of credit, like buy a phone on credit, get credit from your retail store, so like your clothing account, get a clothing account for example, right? That's usually one of the easiest ways. Or wherever you are banking, just ask for an overdraft facility, or ask for a credit card, or rather apply for a credit card. But this is where it becomes very important, guys. Understand that we are playing a game, right? And this game is us building a healthy credit score. It is not a game of us now, looking, our very best on credit, right? Or doing or going on holidays on credit, for the sake of it, right? Remember, the reason we are taking out this credit is so that we can build a good credit score, so that when we actually apply for financing, we get favorable interest rates, so lower interest rates, because we have been able to indicate, or we have been able to evidence to the lender that we are trustworthy. We have been able to indicate to the lender that when we are given debt, we are able to honor our obligations on time. All right. So once you've taken out the debt, there are things that you need to do on a continuous basis, right? And even when you already have debt, these are some of the things that I want you to always be cognizant of, right? In terms of building this credit score, you want to always make sure that you are paying your debts, minimum payment, always on time. So no delays, no missed payments. Honor your obligations, right? And the best way to do this is to automate. Like, just automate, set a direct debit, set a debit order when it comes to honoring your obligations. Another thing that's considered actually in the calculation of this credit score is what we call the utilization rate. And this rate basically means that if you have a credit facility of, let's say, 1,000 Rand or £100, right? What you want to do is you don't want to use 100% of it. So if they give you 1,000, you don't want to use 1,000, right? They always say a rule of thumb is usually 25% to 30%. So what you want to use is 300 or 30 pounds, just as an example, right? To buy groceries or buy silly things. But remember, the objective is for you to start demonstrating that you are able to take out credit, use it to the extent of this utilization rate that I have just recommended, and pay it back. Pay it back. That's all you're doing. That's all you're doing habitually. And the more you do this thing correctly, the more you are building a credit score that is healthy, that is good, that is excellent. I hope this is helpful. Please let me know in the comment section if you have downloaded your credit score, if you're happy with your credit score, and whether this video was helpful. I know it was, actually. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with someone in your circle. See you next time. Thank you so much. Bye.